Tonight on CTV News, a warning from paramedics about the dangers of fishing from the rocks. Investigations continue into 2 sexual assaults, and meet the man behind the lamb.
Broadcasting across Canterbury from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to CTV News, now streaming live online at ctv.co.nz. Well, police have found a vehicle thought to be related to one of the 2 sex attacks at the weekend as investigations continue. Chelsea Daniels has more.
Police have interviewed the driver of a red Holden Commodore, wanted in connection with one of 2 sex attacks on prostitutes in the city. Detective Senior Sergeant David Harvey says no charges have been laid against the man and investigations are continuing. A 21-year-old said she was sexually assaulted after getting into the Commodore around 10 p.m. on Friday night.
We're very upset when something like this happens, and 2 so close to each other and on this, on the same night, very close and totally unrelated, is too many. And we're hoping that the police will be able to review their footage and find those cars that picked them up.
Police are still trying to find a white van involved in a second attack on a sex worker on Friday night. An 18-year-old said she was driven around the city in the van and sexually assaulted by 3 men before being released. She thought there was only 1 man in the van when she got in.
We work closely with another organisation that works with young people out on the street, and they happened to be out that night and ran into the whole situation and ended up by supporting one of them through the processes until 7 a.m. in the morning, because it's long and difficult.
The victim was able to get out of the van around 10:45 p.m. on the corner of Armour Street and Fitzgerald Avenue.
The police do take these attacks very seriously, and sexual assaults, and currently there is somebody who is going through the court process, and I think the police will probably step their presence up. They usually do, and they have said in this instance that they will, and they will put more patrols out in the street.
Prostitution was legalised in New Zealand in 2013, which means street workers are well within their right to work wherever they want.
Shouldn't be happening at all. No, it shouldn't. And sex work in New Zealand is decriminalised, and that includes the street-based workers, and they have every right to be on the street and to feel safe and secure, and if they catch people, they should be prosecuted the same way as attacking anybody else.
Police are urging anyone with information to help identify the white van or the persons involved in the attack to contact Christchurch Police. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
And in another incident that could be linked to the white van, a 24-year-old woman claims she fought off a group of men earlier this afternoon in Phillipstown. She told police she was grabbed and thrown into the van by 2 men and assaulted. A 53-year-old was arrested in Wainonia this morning after a man suffered multiple stab wounds. The 20-year-old victim is being treated in Christchurch Hospital, but his injuries are not thought to be life-threatening. Well, to today's other news now. Be careful walking on tracks around Taylor's Mistake. That's the warning after 2 men fell from a cliff face at the weekend, only hours between each other. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
Paramedics are urging people to be careful when walking tracks near Taylor's Mistake. The plea comes after 2 men fell at the weekend, one falling 10 metres. The 24-year-old man suffered suspected spinal injuries and is in a stable condition at Christchurch Hospital.
We had 2 winch missions out at Taylor's Mistake, all within probably 100 metres of each other. The first one was in the early afternoon, where a fisherman had fallen about 10 metres down and sustained lower leg injury and some back problems. So the guys ended up going down there and using a stretcher winch and winched him up out of that environment through to hospital.
The second fall happened only metres away. The 7th call made to the Westpac team attended to in a 20-hour period.
And the second job we went to was a similar sort of thing. A guy was walking down the track, he made his way through to the waterfront, and then on trying to get back up to the track, he had sustained a fall where he's got quite significant lower leg injuries.
The Christchurch Surf Lifesaving Club were already training at the location, making the response time considerably quicker.
We were already having a training course over at Taylor's Mistake, a patrol captain's training course. So obviously our patrolling season starts soon. So we were just getting our guys clued up and ready for the season. When one of the friends of the gentleman that ended up falling down the cliff approached one of our club members on the beach to say what had happened.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
The doors remain closed today at the Papanui Library with final inspections holding up the official reopening. The building has gone through major earthquake repairs and was due to be back open to the public this morning. The Christchurch City Council is working to get the final sign-off and is expected the doors to open on Wednesday. Well, still to come here on CTV News, hot debate is expected over freedom camping rules as hearings start tomorrow. Welcome back to CTV News. The days of parking up and sleeping over wherever the mood takes you may be numbered. Planned restrictions on freedom camping in Canterbury are expected to spark heated debate at hearings tomorrow. The Christchurch City Council is looking at banning freedom camping in most areas and restricting it in others. The issue heated up earlier this year when more than 30 freedom campers parked up in New Brighton. Residents in the area were frustrated and angry about noise and rubbish being left there. There were several confrontations between residents and campers before the campers were moved on. 192 people made submissions on the bylaw, and most want to see the restrictions tightened up. But others were worried people left homeless after the earthquakes will be affected. The first submission hearings will be held tomorrow at Akaroa Bowling Club from 10 a.m. and at the Recreation Centre in the afternoon from 1:30. Another session is being planned for 1:30 p.m. at the South Brighton Community Hall. It was the biggest storm ever recorded, devastating many parts of the Philippines. And now 2 years on, a doctor from the Southeast Asian country has touched down in Christchurch, sharing stories from their experience. It was one of the biggest disasters to hit the Philippines. The official death toll from Typhoon Haiyan was well over 6,000. It's thought there are thousands more still unaccounted for. Passing through the area back in November 2013, it caused widespread damage, costing billions. And now 2 years on, the recovery continues.
You have there areas that had been totally devastated. Until now, you still find those people there in the bunkhouses. You know, and there is more concentration on infrastructure, building the government buildings like municipal halls, roads, bridges, but the people are still there in those temporary houses.
Batista represents the victims of the devastating disaster. Touching down in Christchurch today, she's touring the country to talk about different issues regarding to climate change and disaster politics, plus the ongoing rebuild of the Philippines.
It's 2 years now, and we are still in a situation where we find a lot of problems, you know, for the people to overcome. There are still a lot of people who don't have houses. You know, 1 million houses were destroyed by the storm surge and the typhoon. And there are only about 500 of them being built by the government.
She hopes the talks in Christchurch will help share ideas around the recovery process, an important conversation.
And it is a horrendously long time for people in New Zealand for 5 years to be out of their home and have uncertainty. They will have years and years and years and years. There is no end to the uncertainty because things won't be organised. So they will just have to, you know, it will become their business as usual to scrape together what they have to be able to put a roof over their head.
New Zealand contributed just over $1 million to help with aid in the Philippines, providing food and medical supplies. She hopes now our country can help with their rebuild, with the hope to share her stories with the world. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. A Christchurch expert says it's only the tip of the iceberg and there's no way of knowing how many synthetic drugs are hitting our shores. Chelsea Daniels reports.
More than we could count. Yeah, there are lots of little niche drugs. People are using drugs, they don't know what they're using. So we can't count it because we don't know what they are. People often don't know what it is that they're taking.
Police are warning against the use of a new synthetic drug, which has seen 5 people in Christchurch Hospital. 1 person still remains in the hospital's intensive care unit.
The N-bomb is the drug that's been in the media lately, but in fact we've got a whole range of drugs that keep coming to attention one after the other. We've had a bit of a cluster of hospital admissions around that. There's going to be an ongoing trickle of adverse reactions to that drug and other drugs, and sometimes one drug will have a bunch of people have something go wrong all at once, and we focus attention on it. The issue isn't just that one drug now, though. There's definitely a wider context.
Although users may think these drugs are safer, Addison says this is not the case.
People sometimes think the natural ones are safe and healthy because they're natural. Some people think the synthetic ones should be safer because someone's planned it, and neither of those are necessarily safer. Some drugs are more hazardous than others. The term we use, hard drugs, tends to be defined as drugs that are the most illegal, and it tends to be defined as the drugs that are most hazardous. And the drugs that are most hazardous should overlap quite well with the drugs that are most illegal, but they don't always.
Police and the Canterbury District Health Board advise users and the public to avoid any drug that is sold as N-bomb or an LSD type drug. If you see anything suspicious in your community, contact the police straight away. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Well, now here's Andrew King with what's happening in your neighbourhood.
Hi, I'm Andrew King, and this is the news in your neighbourhood. Demolition work on the earthquake-damaged Hilgendorf complex at Lincoln University is in full throttle. Most of the building was demolished at the weekend. It was slightly damaged in the September 2010 earthquake, but the February 2011 event severely damaged the complex. Work is expected to finish in late November, and new science facilities will be built on the site. The complex was built in 1968 and named after Frederick Hilgendorf, an international wheat specialist. All some Wilston residents want is their speed bump back. Rebuild workers have fixed their wastewater pipes, but the speed hump they put back on Sullivan Ave near the intersection of Keswick Street is too flat. There is a sign showing there is a speed bump and to slow down, but motorists ignore it, said resident Giora Dan. There were many young families in the area and he was worried about road safety. Mr. Dan complained to the City Council and Skirt, whose workers put down the strip. He has now asked the area's City Councillor, Jani Johansson, to try and do something about it. The City Council says it is monitoring the traffic at the intersection to see if it is necessary to raise the platform further or to put in other speed calming measures. Skirt told CTV how the low hump was an oversight. The New Brighton RSA will spend $250,000 extending its new home, and they hope the extensions will bowl over their members. The RSA lost its premises in the February 2011 earthquake and have moved in with the New Brighton Bowling Club. The RSA received an insurance payment of more than $1 million, so it is cash rich to extend its joint premises with the bowling club. For more on these stories, read your local community newspapers.
Thanks for that, Andrew. We're still to come here on CTV News, Sport and your region's weather forecast. Welcome back to CTV News. Well, if you've been to watch a Crusaders game, you've likely seen the mascot Larry the Lamb. A Christchurch business owner stunt doubles as the lovable mascot and has just celebrated 20 years in the role. Emma J. McLennan has more.
Mike Wagteveld has been in the spotlight since he hit the milestone of 20 seasons over the weekend. 20 seasons, that is, as the iconic Canterbury rugby mascot, Larry the Lamb. The Christchurch business owner returned to his tyre trade today, but things are a little different since he's been outed as the popular mascot.
I've had a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages, and yes, it's been quite humbling actually, been quite surprising, because in my line of work, I'm sort of in the background. We've got a wholesale tyre business, and we just supply tyres to the tyre shop, so I'm not in the public eye. So it's been quite a hectic couple of days.
Wag te Velde first put on the costume as Larry 20 years ago as of Saturday. It all began when he was approached by a family friend in 1995 to do the job.
I first got the job so to speak, at the supporters club one night. I'm family friends with the Blackadders, and Todd's mother, we were watching a game actually for Todd playing, and I was there with his mother and brother, and she said, "You're an idiot." We had a few too many Fantas. Billy Bush was there. It was a really good night at the supporters club, and I got a tap on the shoulder, and she goes, "I've got a job for you." I said, "What's that?" She said, "You're the mascot. See you next week." I thought, "Yeah." Then the next morning I thought, "Oh, what have I done?" And then never looked back ever since.
It's a bulky costume. The headpiece alone weighs nearly 7 kgs, and then there's keeping the crowd entertained.
Well, Larry's a bit of a character. He's a bit mischievous. He gets up to a bit of mischief with the kids and the adults and fellow mascots. That's just basically being Larry. He just runs around and cracks up jokes with the kids. No talking allowed, so you've got to be quite animated in what you do. You've got to be careful that you don't offend, so you've got to be a bit careful there. But overall, you can get away with a wee bit of hilarity and just play practical jokes on the kids, pinch their flags, take their food off them. That's a favourite with the kids. You pinch their food and pretend to eat it.
While being on the field hyping up the crowd can be a lot of fun, there are always issues when your costume means you can't see below waist height. There have been plenty of accidents over the years, tripping over cameramen, falling over an advertising bollard, even stumbling on a speaker. But the worst was when an overzealous fan decided to rugby tackle him.
In fact, I got dealt to by an overzealous mascot up in Marlbury years ago, and he basically took me out in a full tackle with a bit of a king hit there as well, and the head took all the skin off my face, and the old tooth went through the chin. So I was a bit grumpy about that and chased him into the back car park at the Marlborough game.
Although there have been accidents, Wag te Velde says he still loves the mascot role and plans to continue for years to come.
My kids are growing up, and my son's 12, and he sort of said to me, "You can't give up now, Dad, keep going." I think he's got his eye on it.
A massive congratulations is in order for Wag te Velde, and it looks like Larry the Lamb might just stay in the family. Emma J. McLennan, CTV News.
Very cool indeed. Well, here's Chelsea Daniels now with the weekend's sporting action.
Good evening, I'm Chelsea Daniels. Canterbury's provincial rugby and league teams look poised for another memorable season. Rugby's ITM Cup side beat Southland 39-20 at AMI Stadium on Saturday to move to a semi-final showdown against Taranaki at home. The Red and Blacks have been in great form in the latter part of the season, and a finals berth looks a good bet. In the 13-man code, the Canterbury Bulls will face County's Manukau Stingrays at Mount Smart Stadium in Auckland next weekend in the Big League Grand Final. The Bulls thrashed the Northern Swords 56-20 at the weekend and are now one game away from defending their national title. Monique Barker struck first for the Mainland Pride in their season opener against New Zealand development squad at QBE Stadium in Auckland. The Pride came up against their former coach Gareth Turnbull in the 2-0 away win, with the second goal coming from Emma Clark a few minutes after Barker's opener. 15-year-old Steffi Whittaker, her unbelievable season has continued, snaring back-to-back victories in the Telford Junior Rider Series and the Pony Mini Prix at the Southern A&P show over the weekend. Whittaker from Springston impressively took 2 titles while riding 2 different horses in Waimate. Canterbury United youth striker Ryan Stanley netted his first goal of the season to secure all 3 points for United when they won 1-0 against Waitakere United Youth at ASB Football Park on Sunday. The youth side sit in 4th place with 4 points from 2 games. The Leaston Southbridge cricket team were on the wrong end of a record-breaking partnership in their loss to Sefton at Leaston Park on Saturday. Sefton's Matt Rao and Lance Taylor put on 167 for the third wicket, taking the match away from the home side. Leaston Southbridge posted 23 for 8, but the 167-run partnership meant Sefton won with 4 wickets and 15 balls to spare. The previous record of 163 was posted by Brendan Donkers and Nathan Jones 20 years ago.
Thanks for that, Chelsea, and just a reminder you can tune in online to CTV at ctv.co.nz. This bulletin streams live on there every night at 5 p.m, and you can also catch this bulletin again too at 6:30 p.m and 9:30 also. Alrighty, now it's time for your region's weather forecast.
Kia ora Canterbury. Well, blue skies this morning, but that cloud did increase during the day. Quite muggy with hot temperatures and northwesterly winds for coastal and inland areas. Today's highs for South Canterbury, 23 for you, Timaru, and 19 for Twizel. Central Canterbury, Christchurch, 23 was also shared by yourself, Akaroa, Ashburton and Darfield. 22 for you, Leeson, and 21 for Methven there. Heading further north, Kaikoura, you're actually the coolest place, North Canterbury on 21. 22 for you, Cheviot, and 23 for Hemner Springs, Culverden and Rangiora. 24 there for Amberley and Oxford, you guys taking out the region's high today. And over to the mountain ranges, 13 for Arthur's Pass and 15 for Mount Cook. Now tomorrow we're actually expecting a little bit of rain to come through. Showers for you, Timaru, first up. Southerly winds, those showers clearing about midday though, and 11 degrees for your high. Just one for your morning start though, a little bit fresh. A little bit soggy for you, Ashburton, for your Tuesday as well. 10 degrees for your high there and southerly winds coming through. Christchurch, you're not escaping that rain either. That will be visiting you in the morning and hopefully clearing in the afternoon and evening. 14 degrees for your high during the day. Kaikoura, it's actually going to be fine first up for you with that rain coming through at the midday mark and clearing later on. 16 degrees for your high though. The rest of the Canterbury region can also expect those southerlies and a little bit of rain coming through. It's actually going to start in the south with you guys and work its way further north. Central Canterbury here, southerlies for all of you guys, and that rain in the morning clearing later in the afternoon and evening. 13 degrees for your high, Akaroa, and 15 for you, Darfield. Heading further north, rain here for you guys. You're actually getting that rain later on though, and that should be clearing in the afternoon, late afternoon and evening. 15 for all of you, apart from Oxford, taking out 14 degrees. And over to the Alpine region, westerlies for Arthur's Pass. Rain there for all of you guys, and 9 degrees was your high, Arthur's Pass. Wednesday's looking a lot better though. 16 degrees is the high for Christchurch and Kaikoura. 15 for Timaru and Ashburton. Cloudy skies with light winds breezing through and a few sea breezes for coastal areas. On Thursday, sunny skies. 18 is the high there for Christchurch and 19 for Timaru. Northeasterlies for Ashburton and northerlies for you, Christchurch. On Wednesday, everywhere is looking pretty dry and fine. We are seeing those cloudy skies and a few breezes coming through from coastal areas on Wednesday. Could be a few inland frosts as well, just light. On Thursday, we're seeing the lovely sunshine come out. Northerly winds there, but light breezes for everyone else, and we're expecting highs between the 17 and 19 degree mark. So tomorrow, don't forget your brollies and your raincoats on the way to work. We are expecting that rain to start South Canterbury, working its way further north. And I hope you will have a fantastic evening, and we'll catch you back here tomorrow.
Thanks for that, Mercy, and that's CTV News for Monday. You can find all our stories and bulletins on demand at ctv.co.nz. But for now, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jeremy McCulloch. Have a great evening.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.